Hello again. In September 1958, the movie King Creole was being shown at the Gloucester Odeon. My dad had just completed his training as a cinema projectionist, and this was to be the first film that he would show. To mark this, he went out and bought the single. And this is, without doubt, the first Elvis record that I would have heard, and the first record in my collection. And it was only many years later, after he died, that I realised that he had in fact faintly put his initials just above RCA. So King Creole, Dixieland Rock. My mum would tell a story that when I was able to sit up, they would sit me in front of a portable record player. They would then load on 5 or 6 singles, and I would sit and watch them. And I was probably more watching the process of them falling down and playing than anything else. They noticed a difference whenever King Creole or Dixieland Rock came on, and my mum said that I would move my arms around and make a noise. And so they said from very early on that I would be an Elvis fan. So I guess we can blame my dad for all of this. Little did he know when he bought that single, the chain of events that he was starting. King Creole was of course based on a novel written by Harold Robbins called A Stone for Danny Fisher, published in 1952. This was a serious early novel by Robbins, which looked at the effect of the Great Depression on a lower middle class Jewish family, and Danny would use his newly discovered talent for boxing to support his family. Hal Wallis wanted to produce a film from the book, and it was said that James Dean was considered for the role of Danny. After Dean's death, Wallis approached Elvis to play the role, and we can assume that this is now when Danny became a musician and the location was switched to New Orleans. Michael Curtiz was to direct the film. He also took the decision to film it in black and white. Wallis assembled the best cast of any Elvis movie: Walter Matthau, Carolyn Jones, Dean Jagger, Betty Hutton and Vic Morrow. Michael Curtiz had already won Oscars for Sons of Liberty and Casablanca. In 1937 he had directed a boxing film called Kid Galahad, starring Edward G. Robinson, Betty Davis and Humphrey Bogart. Filming was almost stopped by Elvis being drafted into the US Army, but he was able to obtain a short deferment, and so filming took place between January and March 1958. The soundtrack album was recorded in January 58 at Radio Recorder's Studio B in California. 12 songs were recorded for the movie, but only 11 actually appeared, and only 10 of those in full performance. In fact, a full performance of Hard-Headed Woman was filmed, and it stated that it was included in the movie when it premiered in Pasadena, but was then cut from the final release. Let's hope that the footage survives out there somewhere. A second Dixie version of King Creole was also recorded, but not used. Among the songwriter acetates provided for the movie was a song called Dirty Dirty Feeling. Elvis of course didn't record it for the movie, but would record it in 1960 for the Elvis's Back album. Another song that Elvis did record was Danny. A performance of the song Danny was also filmed, but cut out of the final print. To me, this wouldn't have worked. It's a bit on the nose. I do think it would have worked as a song over the opening titles, as I showed in another video. But again, it would be interesting if it still existed, as it's a fine song. Strangely, in the US, the single released was Hard-Headed Woman and Don't Ask Me Why, whereas in the UK we got King Creole and Dixieland Rock, and King Creole got to number 2 in the UK charts, and that of course was what my dad purchased. There are some very interesting photographs of Elvis recording the King Creole soundtrack, and one of my favourite pictures shows him recording in his socks. In the movie, Elvis gives his finest performance as an actor, and although it was only his fourth film, I think he proved that given the right material, he could act well. The one problem he would always have, of course, is he was Elvis Presley, and no matter what film you put him in, he looked and sounded like Elvis Presley. Such was Elvis's passion for filmmaking, that even though he was still a relatively young actor, he insisted that one scene be cut from the final print of the movie, because he didn't feel that it rang true. You can find details of that in the books on making the film. So what of the soundtrack? Well, as you probably guessed, I've got quite a few copies, though there are two significant ones that I don't yet have. So let's take a look. We'll start in the UK. So here's the first cover. A very nice looking cover, picture from the movie. 3 stills from the movie on the back. And a mistake in the role of Danny Fennell. You do wonder how they could have made that mistake, how it wasn't spotted. But the error was obviously pointed out, and so they quickly reprinted a corrected cover. So in the role of Danny Fisher. So just something to look out for. The same large silver spot. So the next pressing, front cover's the same, but on the back they removed the pictures. And this is the red spot pressing. Now we come to 1969, so the same cover, and carrying on with the last back cover. And now we have what's called the small orange label. Now this wasn't in use for very long, and they went to a larger orange label. So this is a mid-1970s. And the larger orange label. Now this is actually the first copy of this that I ever bought. So we have the 1970s laminated front cover. But I didn't actually spot this until many years later. The disc itself is an American orange pressing. That's as I bought it, new from the shop. And then we have the international, RCA International label pressing. And that is of course, oops, the orange, green, I'm colourblind, the green label. Okay, America, I have 2 American pressings. Now this cover actually has at the top RE, so it's a re-release of the original. But again we have Danny Fennell. have a second American, which is this one. And here we have staggered stereo, electronically reprocessed. And then we have the staggered stereo at the bottom. So those are the only two American ones I have at the moment. So now we'll go on to some other countries. So I got this recently. This is a French pressing. And that's on the French yellow label. Now this one is from South Korea, a Domido label. So then we have some Korean text and a red Domido label. Okay, next one. This is Brazil. So the title in Brazilian is Balada Sangrenta. Electronically reprocessed stereo and an orange label. This is South Africa. And that is on a black label. Next we have a Spanish release. Again, electronically reprocessed stereo. This is German. Standard cover. Black label. This is from New Zealand. And you may have noticed Elvis's eyes look a bit strange. Now they've actually given him green eyes, which does stand out. It looks a bit odd. Again, reprocessed stereo. Black label. The Japanese went a completely different direction. Of course, this is the cover of the American single of Hard-Headed Woman that they've used. Now the recent FTD set, King Creole, of course included a 10-inch reproduction of the Japanese album. This is a French re-release from a series of albums, various artists, which are shown on the back. This is the King Creole soundtrack. Now look at some more recent versions. So this was some CMT records, apparently in living stereo. And interestingly, they've whether they did this deliberately or not, I don't know, in the role of Danny Fennell. Here's a gatefold. This is from Vinyl Lovers. So the standard front cover, different back cover. Quite a plain looking label. I haven't played this one yet to see what the sound quality is like. I will give it a go. We're getting there. Wax time in colour. Now they couldn't quite manage to get a King Creole shot on the front cover. They've used a picture from Jailhouse Rock for some reason. And this is a very dark orange. It's actually darker in person. The lights make it look a bit brighter. Again, I've not played that one. This was a fairly recent release on the Cajun label. Nice cover, that's from the King Creole soundtrack sessions. And this is a quite a dark red. Again, I haven't played that one yet. And second from last, we have Castle Music's King Creole. And these of course included a bonus EP each time. And this one was Change of Habit. And of course the last one is the FTD. Nice alternative cover. Again, a gatefold sleeve. reproduction of the American label. So those are all the King Creole albums I've got at the moment. There are two I particularly want to get. Frustratingly, one of them I had paid for and was awaiting its delivery. And because of problems at the seller's end, the deal had to be cancelled. And that was for the Argentinian pressing. The other one I'd like to get is the Mexican. Very expensive if you can find it. But as an alternative for now, what I did get is the Mexican EP, King Creole Re Criollo. And amongst the other EPs you can track down, that's the Spanish 33 1/3 compact disc, but not the CD, of course. This is a Japanese repressing of King Creole, but you'd never guess that from the sleeve. It's only if you look at the back where they do have the song titles in English and the lyrics. These are the American Volume 1 and 2. The Americans, of course, got a different picture on their Volume 2. Whereas in the UK, we got the same on both. And French pressing. So that is my King Creole vinyl. As far as the books go, King Creole the Music, fantastic FTD book. You can actually still pick this up at a fairly reasonable price. Lots of photographs of the recording session. And lots of information on the songs. Really good book. King Creole frame by frame. So it does what it says. It takes you through the entire film frame by frame, with lots of information on shooting the film. Another fantastic book. And of course recently the King Creole box, which is worth getting even if you have the two books. Fantastic set. I have no criticism of it other than the fact that they produce this with slots that don't take the 10-inch Japanese disc properly, so it doesn't sit in there properly. But that's my only criticism, which is a very small one. So that is King Creole. Still more to find. Strangely, it's a film I don't watch that much because it's just too depressing. I like to watch Elvis films to sort of enjoy them, but as I said, it's his best film, his best performance. The music is fantastic. And let's hope they can find some of these cut scenes. Maybe have a director's cut one day, even though the director is long dead. So that's King Creole. I'll finish by saying thank you to my dad. for buying the single, and for everything. And I miss you. Bye for now.